Hello friends, this video on comparing quantities part 9 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now we learn about another important concept which plays an important role in buying and selling of items, and that is sales tax. So this is basically a tax which is charged by the government on the sale of any item. So in very simple words, you can understand that whenever you go to a shop and you buy anything, okay, so whenever there is a sale of item that is happening, whenever the shopkeeper is selling something to you, some amount of money has to go to the government. So what happens if you have ever noticed, I'm not too sure if you have noticed or not, so if you look at your restaurant bill or your shopping bill or maybe the bill from the petrol pump or even your parlor bill, so when you look at these bills, you will see that it shows at the end, it shows the total cost or the total price, and it also says taxes, and then it shows some additional amount. So these taxes is something which doesn't go to the pocket of the shopkeeper. Instead, it goes to the government. So what happens is when you buy an item, you not only pay its price, but also a tax which in turn goes to the government. So you pay the price of the item plus the tax, and the shopkeeper sends that tax to the government. And now since this tax is charged by the government on the sale of an item, it is known as sales tax. However, these days a new type of tax has come into picture, and that is called VAT or value added tax. Now, why did this VAT come into picture? So we will very quickly and very simply discuss about a problem which was observed with sales tax. So let us have a look at the exact problem which happened with sales tax. Now, for the sale of any item, there are many different stages which are involved. For example, you have somebody who is producing the raw material, then you have somebody who is actually manufacturing the item from the raw material, then you have the retailer, who is nothing but your shopkeeper, and then you have the consumer, which is nothing but the customer, that is us. So these are broadly the 4 stages which are involved in the sale of any item. Now let us say that here we are talking about a product, maybe an iron pipe. So that is the product. So you are the customer, you go to a shop which sells iron pipes and you buy an iron pipe. But the shopkeeper has got that iron pipe from the manufacturer who had actually manufactured the iron pipe, and then again you have some company which actually produces the raw material, that is, it collects iron from all the deposits and kind of get the raw material ready. So what was earlier happening was, when the manufacturer buys iron from the raw material producer, it pays the price of the iron plus the sales tax, right? Then again, when the retailer buys the iron pipe from the manufacturer, it pays the cost of the iron pipe plus the sales tax. Now, if you look at the sales tax of the raw material, so only for the raw material, that is iron, the sales tax was already paid in stage 1. Let us call this stage 1, this is stage 2, and this is stage 3 transaction. So the tax for the raw material was already paid on stage 1. But in this case, what was happening was, in stage 2, again you are paying a tax of maybe whatever percentage. So let us assume that there is a sales tax of 2%. So at the first stage, you paid a sales tax of 2%. Again, at the second stage, you paid a sales tax of 2% on the overall price of the product. So that means you end up paying some portion of the tax of the raw material again at stage 2. Now at stage 3, when the customer buys the iron pipe from the retailer, the customer also pays the price of the pipe plus 2% tax on it. So that means basically at this stage, the customer pays some part of the raw material, some part of tax for the raw material, some part of tax for the manufacture of the raw material, and remaining part for whatever extra cost the retailer had to incur. So basically, when you look at all these 3 stages separately, you see that repeated tax was being paid for the same product. For example, if you have paid the tax for the raw material in stage 1, you should not pay it again in stage 2 or stage 3. But that repetition was happening before with the concept of sales tax. So now, what was the ideal scenario that should have happened? Okay, so in the ideal scenario, in stage 1, you should pay the sales tax on the raw material. Perfect. In stage 2, you should pay sales tax only on the manufacturing cost and not on the raw material. Similarly, in stage 3, you should pay tax only on the extra cost that the retailer had incurred and not on the manufacturing cost, not on the raw material. Right? So that is how it should happen. And that is what started happening with the concept of VAT, that is value added tax. So this is a tax which is on the value that is added at each step. That is why it is called value added. So it says that the tax on the amount by which the value of an article has been increased at each stage of its production or distribution. For example, the raw material cost was, let's say, 500. Now after getting manufactured, its price has increased by 200 and it has become 700. So let's say this time the price was 500 and in stage 2 the price has increased to rupees 700. That means 500 was the cost of the raw material. So this time when you charge tax, you should not charge it on 700. You should rather charge it only on the difference. That is, this 2% should be charged only on rupees 200 because 200 is the extra manufacturing cost that has been incurred by the manufacturer. Now, let's say by the time it reaches to the retailer, the cost has become rupees 800. So basically 500 out of these was for the raw material, 700 extra 200 was for the manufacturing. So the retailer has incurred extra cost of rupees 100. So the sales tax this time should be charged only on that extra cost or the value which the retailer had added to the product, that is rupees 100. So this tax should be charged on rupees 100. So this is the concept of value added tax. So if you see here also, percentage plays a major role because whenever you talk about tax, there is a certain percent. For example, here just a dummy number I have taken as 2%. So you should be very much clear with percentages because percentages play so much important role in different types of taxes. So what do we understand here? So with this we see that repeated tax was on the same item was avoided by the concept of VAT. And this holds true for all the products that we see in the market. For example, if you go to buy furniture in a showroom, so the showroom where you are going, that is basically the retailer, right? Now the retailer is getting the furnitures from the manufacturers who are actually making the furnitures, and the manufacturers, they need raw materials to make the furniture. So they are getting the wood and all the other raw materials from different raw material producers. So in this fashion, you can analyze it for yourself that how the different stages are involved in the sale of any item. Let's try this one. I purchased a hairdryer for rupees 5,400 including 8% VAT. Find the price before VAT was added. Now what have we understood from the previous slide? That VAT is the tax which is always added on the selling price, correct? Because VAT is something which the customer pays or the person who buys, the buyer has to pay, right? So selling price is that price which normally the buyer pays. For example, if I go to a shop to buy a book, so the price that I pay for the book, that is the selling price of the shopkeeper, right? So in this case, I have to pay the exact price plus VAT. So basically VAT gets added on the selling price. Now this is very important, that VAT always gets added on the selling price. Now in this case, let us assume that the price before VAT was rupees X, because we do not know how much it was, so we just assumed that it was rupees X. Now if you add 8% VAT on it, that means initial price was X. With this price, you are going to add 8% VAT. So 8% VAT will get added on what? On the total price before the VAT. So X plus 8% of X. So this becomes what? This becomes the actual selling price. That is the price which the customer pays to buy the product. So in this case, the customer has paid rupees 5,400. So X plus 8% of X is equal to 5,400. So we can solve this equation. This becomes 8 plus 8 by 100x is equal to 5,400. Or we can say 100x plus 8x divided by 100 is equal to 5,400. Or 108x is equal to 5,400 into 100. Or x is equal to 5,400 into 100 divided by 108. So you can cancel these out, so it becomes 50. So therefore the answer is rupees 5,000. So 5,000 rupees 5,000 was the price of the hair dryer before VAT was added.
Thank you. Please visit examfear.com for free quality education. You can learn with a simple 4-step learning process wherein you can watch video lessons, you can ask your questions, you can refer notes, and you can take a free online test. We have content for class 6 to 12 on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology along with practical videos. So please subscribe to our channel for daily updates. Thank you.